Welcome back to Game 3 between Suning and RNG, a match that we did not expect to see, but alas, after Game 1's domination by RNG, followed by Game 2's swift conclusion by Suning, really it is anybody's game. It seems that both teams very comfortable with playing aggressively throughout the early game and getting a little bit of, actually no, Suning didn't play so aggressively, but getting a little bit of a lead and bringing that lead all the way home, snowballing it to a grand finish as it rolls down the hill. RNG now with the Lee Sin pick, one of their favorites it seems. Most likely a jungle, can also be a mid lane Lee Sin followed by a Gwen pick, taking that away from Suning. Now Bin can play the Jax, which is apparently supposed to be a counter to the Gwen. Most likely a skill matchup, and we know that Bin, if there is anyone who is considered one of the most high skilled top laners, it is Bin. People might say that his performance this season hasn't been the best, but last game he definitely put on a clinic on the newest champion in the game. And we mustn't forget that Bin is part of the reason that Suning had such a miracle run in the last year, especially in the split leading up to Worlds. To remind everybody, Suning going into Worlds actually came out of the regular season into playoffs as by far and beyond not anywhere near one of the people expected to be in contention. Now Suning, despite the fact that the Karma pick is still up, and while they did have quite a lot of success in the last game, not opting for the Karma in the mid lane yet again this round. This is kind of a flex between mid and bot lane, of course, as the not pick comes in for Ming yet again. Will Suning look to ban out AD carries? And with RNG, will they consider banning out perhaps the Aphelios Thresh combos, the Jinx, ban out both the scaling AD carries, as RNG don't really play to that tempo so much, more of the early game aggressive diving, the Varuses, the Kaisas, the Kallistas, the Tristanas. That's really RNG's style. Meanwhile, Suning, with the preference towards scaling, will probably see the Thresh and maybe even the Tahm Kench banned out as the LeBlanc ban does come in. This time it looks like RNG not opting for the Diana just yet, can still opt for it while crying the Lee Sin in the mid lane, and as to be expected, the Thresh and Tahm Kench are banned, which means if you pick a Jinx or an Aphelios at this point in the game, you are going to be in for a world of pain, as I actually expect this to be a Diana lock-in come in next. Maybe even have the AD carry lock-in first. There is still the Kaisa, there is still the Varus, which I don't know if Suning is going to leave up. Varus especially, as Twisted Fate is the ban coming in. RNG with the Diana available for the jungle, with the Varus available, with the Kaisa, with the Ezreal. Suning will most likely go for that. I'm expecting maybe an Ezreal Braum, maybe an Ezreal Leona. Both, of course, Leona and Braum give a little nice bit of CC to Suning, which they kind of are lacking in. That's the kind of the department that they are lacking with. Of course, if you want CC and long range engage, nothing is better than the Leona. The Jhin lock-in coming here, a bit of a poke composition coming out now. Could look for, okay, Jhin Leona is to be expected. So honestly, opting for the Lulu pick as opposed to the Karma pick. Not quite sure how I feel about this. Lulu not very tanky compared to the Karma, of course. And especially given the fact you're most likely going to be against this Lee Sin in the mid lane. And perhaps I have spoken too soon, as RNG see themselves an opportunity to have a mid lane mage. Don't see many of these nowadays in the LPL. A lot of melee bruisers, a lot of Viego, a lot of Renekton, a lot of Nocturne, a lot of Lee Sin. Not so often do we see the Orianas nowadays, as the final draft for this epic series comes to a conclusion. We now find ourselves staring down the barrel of a loaded gun with only 4 bullets if you're Jhin, I suppose. Bot side, plenty of action that could potentially occur. Decent scaling for both teams up into the mid game, after which point Suning do have a slightly tapering off composition, but RNG without really too much of a scaling composition themselves as well. Overall, I think it's a pretty even game. Gwen does outscale though Jace, but in the side lanes, Jace will always be a bit of a threat. There is the poke composition there, of course, with the Jhin as well as the Jace. I'm surprised that Suning didn't opt for the Ezreal, though I expect they thought they needed a bit more damage. Now Suning did play Karma Xin Zhao in the last game, but they didn't really leverage that to make too many plays. Honestly, most of the advantages really came from bot side. Huanfeng and On kind of showing it to Gala and Ming, dominating right from the get-go, and beyond that point just being an absolute menace to the rest of RNG, who just couldn't find the traction that they needed, I suppose, when it finally came down to it, when they finally did their Olympic level diving down on to Suning's backline, there was just too much protection. The stopwatches, the Zhonyas, the Guardian Angels, and of course the Devourer coming out from on. Now, without all that safety on I'm gonna say a relatively immobile AD carry, because Jin doesn't have any dashes of sorts, but he does have the fleet footwork and he does have the movement speed from completing his shots. So now let's see what goes on. In the mid lane, I expect there to be not too much of a priority difference between the two laners. Lots of wave clear for either one, but of course Orianna is the one who's going to want to scale up. In terms of the mid jungle 2v2, heavily in favor of Suning. Top lane is definitely in favor of Bin. It looks like Xiaohu is going to meet Bin in the river. Might be a bit of a tussle here. Not sure if there's a lane swap going on here, or the bot lane of RNG are just playing aggressively, as already Bin is actually chased completely back to base, forcing a flash out of his top lane opponent Xiaohu, flashing forward aggressively with the Doran's Blade and displaying in full view of 200 years of Riot Balance team. That champion, I mean, this was before the nerfs, I suppose, was not balanced at all, and look how she escorted Bin right back to his base, forcing out a flash. Now this is something that RNG can target, and it looks like they will be adjusting in order to do so, with Wei now starting towards the bot side. Can look for a simple 3 or 4 camp clear, though honestly there's no sense in having a 4 camp clear in my opinion. So this will likely be a 3 camp clear. We can expect Xiaohu to maybe even try and push out, try and maybe build a wave and crash it, looking for a dive, play off of the bounce, or just allow Bin to play a very Bin-esque style, which is to just play as aggressively as possible, harass your opponent, in which case Xiaohu just needs to stay healthy and the wave will eventually push into him. Now let's see what happens across the board. Bot lane, of course, with the amount of CC and roots and poke and damage that's coming through, we can expect to see a little bit of action, as well as the top side of the river from mid lane actually is completely warded up by the members of Suning. Entrances of either side of the jungle warded up. Ming and Gala stepping forward aggressively. Hook goes wide from Ming. Now On is stepping up aggressively. This is the second wave, of course. Suning are slightly ahead, 1 melee minion up. Now they still need to kill the other 2. 1 more melee minion to go before level 2. But RNG already playing quite far back. Need to finish off that melee minion as well in order to... Actually no, 1 more range minion as well. Suning quite far ahead in terms of XP, at least in this bot lane. But now they're just about to hit level 2. Don't expect to see too much action. Ming, I don't think he wants to throw a hook onto On. In the lane, supposedly, as according to Mickey X, Leona does win. Meanwhile, Not just wants to get out of laning phase as safely as possible and just come into the mid-late game and be an absolute engaged machine. Xiaohu, nice manipulation of the hallowed mist over there. And it looks like Wei will just look to continue farming. Doesn't see himself a particularly good opportunity to gank Bin. I think they realize that SOFM will likely be in this top side, and in a 2v2 situation right now across both solo lanes, Suning can be expected to come out on top should the fight just go as straightforward as we would expect it to. Priority in the top side is in favor of Suning, which allows SOFM to quite safely secure this Scuttle Crab. As you see, Angel is also stepping up aggressively because he knows he needs to make sure that his jungler does get that Scuttle Crab, and already Suning's amalgamations are coming into fruition as they double scuttle the jungler Bin, going aggressively under tower, but Xiaohu just stepping away from him, allowing the tower to deliver the final blow. So while everything was going the way of Suning, a little bit goes away from them, I suppose, as that was definitely not what you expect. Now top lane teleport is coming in. Bin might look for a greedy kill here, but Wei is around the corner. Level 4 to level 4. Ward goes down, but there's no safeguard as the Sonic Wave connects. The blowback comes through. Teleport coming in now from Angel, used to save his top lane, but mid lane is in a neutral state. Crying will probably be walking back to lane, which gives him teleport advantage should he decide not to use it. And let's see what happened over here. So both champions starting out quite low HP. Bin manages to land the shockwave, sees an opportunity, probably triggers to the skies after weaving in as many range auto attacks as possible, and that little backstep that he took actually kind of denied him. So Crying did eventually walk back to lane, which means that he will of course have teleport advantage should something occur. Should he have to use it defensively to save Xiaohu up in the top side? Should they attempt a dive towards the bot side? on the Jin and Leona combo. Of course, if it isn't used by the time Angel's teleport does come off cooldown, and of course teleport has the longest cooldown in the initial early stages of the game. Now let's see what goes on until Crying is forced or just opts to use it to reset. Either way, the options are available to him. It's just a matter now of how he is able to use it. What openings Suning allow him to use to get an advantage, I suppose. Pretty aggressive parting here from both On and Gala, stepping forward without any idea of where each other's junglers are. Not sure if they could be in that tri-bush where On is kind of in, or if he's on the opposite side of the map. And as it currently states, we see Wei jumping over the wall. Bin kind of expecting a gank axe since he is the most pushed up person by far. Wei now spotted out by SOFM. Level 5 to level 4. SOFM, if he takes this fight, will likely be the one in an advantageous position. CS wise, Wei is 2 camps down right now, and he just seems to be wandering around a little bit lost. His entire side of the jungle is of course empty, as SOFM has just been power farming, not really spending too much time in any lane, while Wei did spend a bit of time top lane trying to get something out of Bin. Now it's going to be an invade now onto SOFM. Angel is in the vicinity. Crying and Wei have been spotted out. Sonic Wave connects on to the level 5 jungler. No ultimate available to peel the members of RNG off of him as Xiaohu now enters. Flash coming out from SOFM. It looks like there's going to be a chase. Wei jumping forward with the safeguard, just flash in. Eventually SOFM opting to give himself up to Xiaohu. Now 3 members of RNG find themselves between 2 towers, but there's nothing that Suning can do in response, because of course your mid laner isn't exactly one of your strong points when there is no jungler for him to buff up. And as a result, some aggressive pathing here from RNG, putting the game slightly in their favor. 10.3k gold to the 9.7k of Suning. RNG ever so slightly in the lead. Gold is actually on Xiaohu, which is exactly where you want it to be, though not where you would expect it to be come the start of this game. And Wei, in spite of all the roaming he's been doing between lanes, despite all the time that it seems that he's wasted, it looks like the few early aggressive moves that he managed to do that kind of set him behind have been offset by that last rotation in from Crying as well as Xiaohu. And at the top side, Xiaohu already beginning to take over this match between him and Bin. SOFM might be needed up here, as already been forced to flash. Xiaohu still has his cooldowns are now back up. Teleports not available for either of the top laners as a bot side invade begins from the side of Suning. Angel now moving into position, wanting to support his Xin Zhao as best as he can, and the shields and the heals come in. The glitter lances Xiaohu secures the kill onto Bin. Right now, the Jin coming in with the ultimate. Ming taken exceptionally low, is sniped away by Huanfeng. Ga just narrowly escaping the cone of damage coming out from Huanfeng and his Jin. And in the top side, although Catastrophe does strike the side of Suning, they do manage to get something back across the board. It would have been a pretty clean win overall if Bin was not Dovin, but Xiaohu looking so comfortable on this pick, looking so at home in the top lane. Let's see what happened. I'm pretty sure we're gonna have a replay rolling in just a few moments. Is Crying trying his best to push in this wave, but is incredibly low on mana, with only his corrupting pots ticking as well as a tier. Now let's see what happens here. Okay, Bin starting this fight at a 3rd HP slide in from Xiaohu. No ultimate available, because as we saw, of course, he used it in the initial part to try and kill Bin, forcing out his flash, and now just capitalizing on that. Dragons are still up, and 12 seconds after Rift Herald has spawned, Wei is the one on site trying to do it, but he's now surrounded by the members of Suning as SOFM and On jump into the area. Bin is here as well. They're going to need to try and pressure him out of the fight, and down he goes. Teleport is coming in now from Crying. That is teleport advantage. Angel does not have his, as Hook lands now onto On. Jin is here as well. Gala isn't. This is a 5v4 situation if Suning managed to stall out for long enough, but now the Rift Herald has gone into their favor. There's no sense in fighting. RNG backing off wisely. So good rotation coming in here from Suning lead to them getting the Rift Herald. Game is still relatively even, only slightly in favor of RNG, just under 1,000 gold. Meanwhile, Gala will have some time alone in this bot side. Will perhaps get one tower plating. Does have Ming returning as well to try and shadow him. So Jin is going to be able to pick up most of this wave thanks to the cannon minion tanking up all those shots. And as we come into a more lulled state of the game, we can take a quick check-in on the items. Xiaohu is the strongest point of RNG right now, having 100% of the kills on his team. Meanwhile, I suppose same can be said about Huanfeng, who is now 3.1k, nearly the most in his team, only behind SOFM, who has been absolutely farming up like a monster, like a truck. Now Xiaohu is dodging just out of reach of the wind becoming lightning, and as a result will be safe from a gank. Though I think he can take a 1v2. if we're going to be entirely honest. There's a good chance that he can. Meanwhile, in the bot side, Huanfeng and On, with the knowledge that the enemy knows of the whereabouts of their own jungler, do need to play back a little bit. Don't want to allow the members of RNG to get a 3v2 advantageous situation on them. Angel with his teleport nearly off of cooldown, as well as Bins. Perhaps we could see a fight starting out now on this dragon, as Suning do find themselves towards bot side with 3 members, as does RNG, but teleports are going to be in favor of Suning for this point in time. Because of course Crying using his to try and attempt a contest onto Rift Herald means that he will not have one should the dragon start fight. He is returning now to the base. Let's see what items he is going to return with, actually finishing up his tier 2 boots. Wei now walking towards the top side of the map. It looks like he's just trying to cover Xiaohu towards this side of the map. Meanwhile, SOFM I think now is a decent time, but of course he doesn't know what we know. He cannot see the he cannot see the Lee Sin hovering up towards the top side, looking for an opportunity to dive most likely. Poor old Bin up towards the top side of the map. He will be spotted out now by the double control wards in the entrance of Suning's base, but Bin being chunked out now. We will need to back off forward, flash over the wall. Teleport is coming in, that is Angel, but the Dragon's Rage is available. He just needs to get into range, and Bin, there's really nothing he can do, but he buys enough time so that Wild Growth does come in. Ultimately, Angel cannot do any more to save his top laner's life, and the rotation is coming in here. Suning are slightly behind. Angel running low on mana is being taken so extremely low as SOFM jumps in. Xiaohu taken quite low as well. Crying running away from SOFM, who flashes in onto Xiaohu, wanting to get that juicy 600 gold shutdown. Does secure it for himself as Angel now stepping forward aggressively. Overall, nice play by Suning. I thought they were going to be a little bit late to the fight, but it turns out that being able to buy more than enough time for the rest of his team to come, after which Angel picking up where he left off. Meanwhile, in the bot side, both AD carries keeping up in terms of CS as Huanfeng builds towards the Gale Force, while Gala looks to be building very happily towards his own Prowler's Claw. Does need to be careful, however, as On is going behind him, just probably going for some deep vision, but can look for a cheeky move behind the tower even should he try. A bunch of pings going down means that RNG probably most likely know exactly where he is. On. Still yet to hit level 6, will not have the long range. Wait, is he still not level 6? He's level 5. What the heck? Huanfeng's level 8. Whoa. Okay, slight level advantage in favor of the support of RNG as Wei now is going to get jumped onto. Lightning Wind becomes likely, does tag him out. Wei is now being chunked out by the 3 Talon Strikes. In comes the dash, audacious charge coming out. Wei getting knocked up and finally put a spear through his heart. Does SOFM. This is probably going to be a free dragon with the mid priority as well as the advantage they have in terms of personnel. RNG not looking so good now in this point of the game. Despite being ahead in terms of gold, the map seems ever so in control of Suning. The only hope, of course, of RNG right now rests upon the shoulders of their most veteran player as Rift Herald is dropped towards the mid lane. Xiaohu trying his best to put as much pressure as possible towards the top side, but as Suning and the rest of SOFM and the rest of Suning are not taking the bait, they are playing to the opposite side, playing to their strong side, not wanting to play towards the opponent's strong side and their own corresponding weak side. And it looks like with one plating left, Bin has made the executive decision to abandon his tower and look to take the wolves, probably with the blessings of his team, because you definitely do not want a Fed Gwen running into a fight. Aphelios can only do, Jin can only do so much, as it looks like the first tower of the game will indeed fall without the help of Rift Herald. Xiaohu chiseling away, snipping away at the first outer tower of the game. And now, when we look at the condition of the game, RNG are still ahead ever so slightly, just a bit more than 1k gold. Most of that gold, of course, resting on Xiaohu, while in the bot side is quite even in terms of gold and in terms of items, I suppose, with the back coming in now from Huanfeng. Will have completed his Gale Force to the Prowler's Claw of Gala. And let's just see how RNG continues this game. They can look to try and play from top side towards mid, pushing it in and then roaming in from the jungle. But of course, the problem with the Gwen when it comes to these kind of situations is that you really don't provide any CC whatsoever, which can make ganking the mid lane, especially when it is a Lulu with the shields and the speed ups that he has, a little bit more tricky. Now, On has finally hit level 6, will have the ultimate available, as it looks like SOFM now face checking into a bush with Ming. Jumping forward is Wei, and now SOFM actually being thrown into Crying with the Dragon's Rage. Ultimately, it will lead to his demise, but for a second there, it looked a little bit dicey, as it looked like Crying was over the wall alone, face to face with the opponent jungler, what is meant to be the strongest member of Suning's team at this point of the game. Now, this teleport teleport coming in now behind Gala. Angel is in the area as well. There is teleport from Crying that can come through, but at this point I think it will be too late as Gala using the Paralysis Claw, trying to get behind Bin, but the damage still ringing through and Gala is practically one-shotted before he can really do anything back in advance as the Solar Flare now drops onto Crying in the mid lane with the Gale Force coming in. Huanfeng executing the mid laner of RNG, and across the board Suning are making plays. Meanwhile, RNG is trying to get the Rift Herald in the top side. Don't know if Suning are going to allow this. They looks like by the looks of their map movements they will indeed. So although they lose 2 members across the board, RNG are still getting some things back. This is basically a free tower that they are getting, and let's see what happened there as Crying is stepping for a little bit too aggressively. Nice flash Solar Flare coming in from On. Gains so much confidence over the course of this year, over the course of his second split in the LPL, and just making plays for his team. Once you're tagged out by the Solar Flare of the Leona or any CC that she has to offer, she can just keep you in place for at least 3 seconds, and when the Jhin comes in as well, really, there's no member of RNG who is tanky enough to stand before Jhin, as well as the Sunlight passive coming in from the Leona for a long period of time. And that's the beauty, I suppose, of the Jhin pick, is that no member of RNG is really a tank. Nautilus is not really going to count, of course, because by the end of the game, he's probably only going to have 1 or 2 items maximum, which means that RNG are all liable to getting one-shotted out by Huanfeng, who's just feeling himself this game. I'm not going to lie. Again, gold lead, not in favor of Suning whatsoever by any extent, means or measurement, but they just seem to be so in control. They're making the movements, and as I say that, 3 members now coming down to his bot side to reinforce Bin, as On stepping forward does not have the does have the Solar Flare available, and looks like it's going to be a 5-man dive as teleports are coming in. Angel is in attendance. Xiaohu does not have teleport of his own. He's going to be pushing out the top side, but the wave clear is there for Gala with the piercing arrows, and as a result, Suning's attempt at aggression is stymied by the response coming in from RNG. It looks like Xiaohu is just going to take the top tower. Now RNG need to be careful. Although Suning are slightly out of position, you don't really want to start a fight that reaches past your capabilities, because of course you will be at a man disadvantage. Now Suning making a rotation now towards the mid lane, trying to take this tier 3 tower. RNG are in position to try and defend it. Ultimates are available from all the champions. We need to be careful. Bin doesn't have teleport, neither does Xiaohu, but Xiaohu is now going to back off, realizing that Suning are most likely coming for him. Mountain Drake is spawning in a minute's time, and as a result, we will see all the characters that need to back are recalling, getting their wards, finishing their components or part of the items, as that is one of the most value control wards you can see, I suppose. A bunch of traps triggered, a bunch of vision cleared. Now Bin does have the top wave pushing into RNG, so Xiaohu, by going to pick that up, will likely be late, if not at all present for this coming team fight, and looks like he has opted to let it go. Means that Bin, at least for the most part, despite how rough the laning phase has gone, has actually been able to get a little bit of advantage for his team in this one situation. But it looks like RNG now trying to get as much mid priority as possible, wanting to rotate into the river. Looks like Bin is coming as well. Priority in the mid lane is in favor of RNG, but ever so slightly. Sorry, is in favor of Suning ever so slightly. We have 5 people per team huddling around this mid lane. There's nothing for Suning to trade across the map except for an outer tower, which they can honestly very comfortably go for, and by the looks of it is what they will be rotating in favor of. Meanwhile, Xiaohu making his way towards the bot side is trying to get something back across the map as well. Suning with some deep invade into the jungle will have full vision. Meanwhile, RNG will have the same thing on their side of the jungle, so both teams really playing well opposite sides of the map, but Wei does have the unfair advantage of having the Rift Herald in his pocket, and it looks like Xiaohu, along with the rest of RNG, will pick themselves up at least 2 towers here. By the looks of it, though, a fight can be forced here. On is skulking towards the side. SOFM is walking forward as well. They are looking for a fight. They're looking for a Solar Flare target as On triggers the W. Nearly looks like going for the Solar Flares. SOFM steps forward right onto Gala, forcing out a flash. Did prep the 3 Talon Strike, and as a result, will eventually get it knocked out as the Solar Flare lands down. Gala with a beautiful Captain Jack, actually immediately cleansing from the Solar Flare stun, as in the side, as so On is being chunked out by the members of RNG. Xiaohu arrives, but is low on mana. Bin, without teleport, is pushing down the top side, has no means of joining this fight, but is now just looking to continuously apply pressure, as they'll need to send someone back to him. He won't be able to take this tier 2 tower, but has pressured RNG out enough so that they will maybe be able to get this tier 3 mid lane tower. The rest of Suning do need to be careful, as an engage can come in. That being said, RNG do have many members low on HP and low on mana, as red buff is secured away from Bin, not stolen from your own jungler at least, and that is one way in which junglers will not mind their laners taking their camps, and that is only if you are defending it from the enemy, because of course that's the only person worse than you taking a camp away from your jungler. Now, we didn't get to see the epic dragon fight that it looked to be promised to us, and this looks to be a little bit more of a slower tempo kind of game. We're already 19 minutes into the game. There's only 2 dragons down and 2 rift heralds. Baron is spawning in the next 15 seconds time. Both teams so far away from Dragon Soul, and without really a huge amount of scaling on either team, with a pretty even amount of scaling, if you ask me, across the teams. Looks like we're gonna be looks like we're going to settle into a pretty long game with some explosive game determining team fights later on, as On is 5 levels behind Xiaohu right now. Bin even slightly behind in levels, 1 level down. As a bunch of pings do go forward, Suning are at a man disadvantage at this point in time. That being said, Crying is towards the top side, so it's pretty even. It's a 3v3 down in this mid side as they're trying to get as much vision in the river towards Baron buff as possible, either team. However, Suning do not have nice smite steal coming in there from Wei chucking out the cheeky Poro emotes. Now, mid priority is easily in favor of Suning, along with Huan Feng's wave clear with the bouncing grenade as well as the W. As now they're stepping forward, trying their best to chisel down this tower as much as possible. RNG, if they're able to hold this tower, that will be absolutely huge, as waves cannot crash in. In fact, teams that lose their tier 3 tower actually have a lot of a harder time defending from a Baron objective take. So that's going to be one very important objective to take for either team, as in the bot side, Xiaohu going for a dive, Bin with the phase rush with the knockback, able to keep himself safe as SOFM flashes into range, but Xiaohu does have the ultimate available and is actually just absolutely shredding through SOFM at this point in time. Riftmaker so much sustain. Ultimately, Bin and SOFM do a nice bit of kiting. However, as a result, they will most likely lose this tier 3 mid lane tower, as is continuously being besieged and besought by the remaining members of RNG, who need to back off now because SOFM has been able to sustain up in the jungle. Does have the God Drinker as possible, can jump into a fight. 4v5 situations are not at all what you want to take now, but Xiaohu is working his way now towards his Zonia's Hourglass as his third item, Cosmic Drive already in his pocket, and by far and beyond the most fed member in the entire game. Out of the 10 players we have now, having completed 2 and nearly his third item as well. Meanwhile, Bin, having just completed his Muramana, will be able to do a lot more damage now as well. Being a side lane threat is also one of the specialties of Jace outside of the poke he provides for his team. Now, Teleport is coming in now. I think this is Xiaohu looking for that 1v1. Actually, it is Crying as the shockwave goes down, doing barely any damage to Bin. Bin feeling confident with the damage that his Muramana does provide him. Basically, one-shots Crying in front of Wei's eyes. And now I know Wei is the blind man. He won't be able to see that in reality, but I think he could hear the crushing sound as a can was put under the heel of Bin, and I'm not really sure what he expected. As soon as that shockwave went through and the negligible amount of damage came out, I think Bin felt immediately at ease with himself. Does have the sustain also from the Eclipse, and it looks like tower is going to fall as the pressure comes in now from Suning surrounding this tier 3. RNG will ultimately be the ones to give up their tower first. That being said, Suning's tower is not that much healthier, as the goal has equalized across the board, kills in favor of Suning, but that really means nothing much when the towers are even, the dragons are even. The experience is pretty much even across the board as well, as Bin now has become activated, is online, is at that 2 item power point, now working his way towards what looks to be an Edge of Night, as Xiaohu starting up the dragon. I'm not sure if the remainder members of Suning see this. It looks like based on their positioning, they are not bothered at all if they do. Looks like they're trying to make a pick down onto mid lane, as SOFM coming in from the flank towards top side, jumps in, does pop the ultimate, ultimately as Ming is just chunking people out. Nice shock blast coming in there from Bin, tagging out Gala as the shockwave actually pulls SOFM out of the piercing arrow. But SOFM is so bloody tanky with just 1 item, tanking up all the damage with his ultimate as well. And the poke coming through, RNG look to be in a very uncomfortable position because the only engage they really have is Wei, because Lee Sin in pro play, it can be considered a pretty reliable form of engage if he gets a nice flank off. We actually saw SOFM in a similar position where he was the only engaged on his team, but he still managed to pull off some fantastic picks. Regardless, RNG do have more than that. They have the Nautilus for the engages or the follow-ups, and they of course do have the Lee Sin Orianna combo. A nice Sonic Wave amidst 5 people can lead to a very beautiful Orianna ultimate, but as we've seen, Orianna isn't really the point in which damage is going to come through from RNG. And now, infesting the top side of RNG's jungle, Suning are just trying to take away whatever resources they can from the previous champions of the LPL. And their top side vision is indeed a very important objective for Suning, which they have just secured. But now the members of RNG have entered their own jungle, are going to clear out whatever vision they can find, which is probably going to be all of it, truth be told. Baron is still up and Dragon is going to be in the next 3 minutes and 30 seconds time. But until that point, there is not so much to fight for aside from vision, trying to make picks, and I suppose towers. For RNG, easier said because they have, of course, the tier 3 outer tower to siege down. Still, meanwhile, on the side of Suning, there's only tier 2s from this point forward, and getting tier 2s is actually a little bit more dicey. I'm sorry, Suning seems to have lost everything as Ming flashing over the wall, getting a hook onto On now, who is stuck left out of the situation as Huanfeng pulls out the cover fire, trying to target out Gala, and Cry and Gala are kind of zoned out of the fight as the solar flare does come down onto Ming. Shield does come forth, Wind becomes lightning going down as well. Xiaohu knocked away from the fight as Huanfeng stepping forward does have a depth charge thrown onto him, managing to close the gap way away as SOFM now jumping onto Gala. Looks like in the back lines, RNG are not going to be able to pull this off as Xiaohu is just piled onto by the remaining members of Suning. Whimsy coming down. Wei is polymorphed. Bin now with the shock blast, narrowly dodging away with the safeguard, forced to flash away from the W from Huanfeng. And now RNG are beaten, RNG are battered, and Suning are moving in to take the Baron with a siege composition along with the poke coming in as well. I do not think this is a good situation for the members of Suning. This is still a flip, however, as no one can get over the wall to stop Wei from getting into the pit. Bin now going in with Angel. It's a 2v2 on two fronts. SOFM is taken so incredibly low, needs some sustain as Bin is jumped onto there by Wei. The damage coming forth, the shields coming in from the Lulu are enough to make sure he stays alive as SOFM not even needed in the pit to secure it. Jumping in now onto Crime, 3-time strike comes out, Wind becomes lightning, actually going through, but Ming coming in to secure the kill. Teleport coming in, there is Xiaohu as a return teleport coming in from Bin as well. The chase down begins. Leona jumping in onto Xiaohu, who slides over the wall away from the Leona towards the Lulu, towards Angel as well as Bin. Ultimates coming through, will have the sustain to lifesteal back up, but the solar flare coming out, shutting down his ability to come in. Shockwave hitting out onto 2 but dealing still no damage whatsoever as Gala has made his way back into this fight. This fight's been going on forever as Ming in the front line is absolutely shredded. In the back lines, Bin is taken out as well, but Huanfeng going small against Gala, who just absolutely tears up the remainder of Suning. Angel teleporting in, need to scurry away as fast as he can with the self Whimsy, and one member of Suning does have the Baron buff. Ultimately, oh my goodness, that fight went on for so long as Prowler's clawing forward, nearly taking Angel out with only 2 abilities. If he had his ultimate there, that would have been huge. Gala coming in big for his team as Huanfeng stepped forward into Gala. I think he did not expect the damage output, and neither did I. As the teleports come in, Xiaohu, really unfortunately, the bane of his existence is this Leona, who is just wherever he is, throwing down whatever spells he needs to just absolutely deny him as he runs face first into a Shield of Daybreak. And in this position of 4v2, the shockwave coming out doing negligible damage, but in comes Gala, the hero of RNG's story. And look at Bin starting this fight at more than half HP, gets absolutely decimated, and then Gala just using the auto attacks with the piercing arrow weaved in between, securing 3 kills for himself, nearly taking Angel out as well. Gala is online. Hope has been restored for RNG. 1 Baron buff on the side of Suning to use. Let us see if they can even put it to that great of a use. Now, the tankiness on the side of Suning has increased significantly with Sinja, of course, with SOFM building nothing but tanky stats. But of course, that's what we expect from him. He is really not a bruiser kind of player. He is basically a full tank kind of player. Flashbacks to Suning's World Championship run with the Sona Rengar full tank. And worst case scenario, I suppose Suning can say that they have secured themselves at least 1 tier 2 tower from RNG with the Baron buff. They are still behind 1,200 gold instead of positive gold balance from having done Baron. They're actually at a negative still. Even though they are still 1,000 gold ahead of RNG, it could have been so much more. Then Suning start up the second dragon for themselves. They will put both teams at 2 dragons apiece. And yet again, I say, the game seems to be 10 minutes after I stated it at the exact same point in time. Gold is relatively even. Map state relatively even. Towers taken even. Number of dragons even. The only thing not even is the number of kills, but at this point that really doesn't seem to mean too much. Angel is now working towards a Magi's, is stacking up a Magi's as he now has built a support item, wanting to really transition fully into providing as much utility for his team as possible in order to just like inject the amount of wars that he can get for his team. It's a very interesting playstyle coming in from the players of Suning, playing so well together as a team. No one really wanting to step back, and I mean, some teams, they have trouble stepping back and not being the carry, but in this case, Suning playing so well together. They are just absolutely stellar. Two members of their team playing to the rest of their team, basically, and that is Angel and SOFM. One being the tank, the other being a secondary support in almost every sense of the word. After getting his mythic item, after completing his chem tank purifier, he's now with the Magi. It's making a full transition to a support. Now, Baron is spawning in the next 2 minutes time which means we will see RNG stepping forward with at least a 4, maybe even a 5 item Gala, which is at this point seemingly RNG's only hope, because there's just too much CC on the side of Suning for Xiaohu to get very much done, unless he's completely ignored as Bin was in the end of game 2. And it looks like for now, Gala is just going to be shadowed by his lovely support as SOFM stepping forward now, trying to get the lightning wind becoming lightning onto the backside of Wei. Not able to secure it, but now Suning are stepping forward aggressively into the bot side, getting as much vision as possible, trying to keep Bin safe, while also trying to siege down this tier 2 in the bot side. Now, Bin is a little bit far away with the wave, so right now, Suning want to avoid a fight as best as they can. Bin now, having come closer to where the rest of his team is, can look to join fights a lot faster, as Suning seem to be in a much more comfortable position, seem to be more in control of the pace of the game right now, as compared to RNG. So, which means, let's see how RNG... apologies. Let's see how RNG are able to bounce back from this. Whew. Okay. At this point of the game, it's just a matter of who can play side lanes better, who can catch opponents out of position, who gets to make the picks, who gets to vision, who plays together better as a team, and ultimately, perhaps the most important of all, who teams out is better. As now SOFM is completely surrounding Xiaohu, caught in a 1v2 situation, is trying to teleport out, but SOFM hasn't been able to prep. Oh my god, 3 Talon Strike actually flashes in using his ultimate, and now in a 1v2 situation, Xiaohu is being chain CC'd up, and with Angel coming in as well, the rest of RNG, what can they do across the board? As Xiaohu actually dealing so much damage, nearly taking Bin out of the fight, but the rest of his team was not in position to save him. In fact, Xiaohu caught so far out of position, and right now, team fighting ability is not exactly a key point for Suning to consider, considering the fact that they have a man advantage. SOFM, beautiful setup there, seeing that he wouldn't have time to channel his 3 Talon Strike, just ultimately flashes in with the ultimate available. Now RNG do have a poke Varus, do have an Orianna from over the wall, can get the damage running through, needs to start hitting some of these piercing arrows. However, now On is looking for a solar flare if he can catch Gala, or he can catch Crying here as the shockwave just has. In that case, Suning can look to finish out the game. This looks to be a 50-50, however, as the Chains of Corruption as well as the piercing arrow comes through. Steal coming out from Wei as On jumps in. 4v4 situation. SOFM so incredibly low, will not be able to jump in from over the wall, and the 50-50 goes in favor of RNG, bringing the game back into an even state. It's completely neutral. Dragon is spawning in a minute, at least as a pressure point for Suning. When they pick this up, they will be at soul point. But alas, this game is really taking a little while. Honestly, as great plays coming out from both teams, finding opportunities, and then the other team just bringing it back. As, I mean, this was a pretty flippy attempt. Now, that shockwave was good, but no one was in position to chase the members of RNG away, and then they had the Orianna, they have the Lee Sin, they have the piercing arrow, fully charged. There's just so much. They even had the shockwave to try to attempt an even better. Oh my god, beautiful shockwave landing now onto Gala, but SOFM is taken so incredibly low. The ultimate will save him as he dodges away very nicely from Ming's flash hook. Looks like Dragon will go in favor of RNG. Regardless, one team will be at soul point after this Dragon falls, and Xiaohu looked to be in such an uncomfortable position just now. Actually was standing his ground very nicely, while the shock blast coming in from Bin have been absolutely key. Gala is dealing as good as he gets, I suppose you could say, as now RNG do secure themselves the soul point. Looks like we could see ourselves a little bit of a fight coming down here as Ming, tagged up by another Shock Blast, is taken to below a third of his HP as the long range shots coming in, ringing through from Suning. Looks like it will force RNG to tuck tail and run back to their base. Vision-wise, I must say Suning is doing an exceptional job. Maybe it's because of the fact that they have a double support lineup somehow, with Angel having completed stacking his support item as well. And it's really converting, because if you look at the map, the river is completely riddled with vision on the side of in favor of Suning. Absolutely key. Now, I'm not quite sure how. Honestly, the state of the game is kind of confusing right now, because RNG are stepping forward because they have, of course, the Baron buff. Both teams are incredibly even, but it just seems that Suning have such a much easier time executing. Now, they do need to be careful with the waves pushing into them. RNG have decent siege, of course, with the poke Varus, and honestly, a lot is on the shoulders of Gala right now, along with Xiaohu. The rest of the team just need to play around them as best as they can. It looks like Xiaohu sliding forward with the aggression, Bin's off to the side, trying to look for an opening to land a very key shock blast onto either Crying or Gala or both, as the first shock blast goes wide in between the entirety of RNG. Engage is available. Down comes the solar flare. Gala not managing to cleanse it in time. Preempts the cleanse a little bit too much. Now On's in the front line, tanking a lot of damage as the poke comes through. Ming just bodyguarding, blocking all of the poke coming out from the members of Suning. And Xiaohu is going to be backing. Does have the teleport available. Wei skulking forward, looking for an opening. Depth charge is still available, but solar flare is not. Cleanse and flash used from Gala as another shock blast comes in. Hook lands onto SFM, who immediately triggers his ultimate, knocking Ming back as the tower falls in favor of Suning, in favor of RNG, just as nice shot blast landing onto Crying as Wei was there to block out the Jin W. That would have led to the mid laner's extreme death. Just as Baron drops, as well as Xiaohu just using his W for whatever safety is required. Now they're stepping out of the bush. Xiaohu using his ultimate, Wei jumping forward, does have to safeguard backwards as Xiaohu is frontlining now, is being knocked up. Zhonya's is popped. Ming does have his ultimate available, using it now onto Huanfeng, who's forced to scurry back as far as he can. Now On is playing bodyguard for his AD carry, and a 1-for-0 trade. SOFM finally falls in front of the entirety of RNG as they renew their onslaught. Wei looking for something in the jungle, but the rest of Suning is there to extract their support. And it looks like after a long battle, this will be the end. Perhaps not, as RNG renewing their assault. There's still a lot of poke on the side of Suning. This could go either way. This is another version of a 50-50, I'm pretty sure. And it looks like RNG realizing that as well, are opting to back away. Baron is spawning in another 2 minutes time, as is Dragon. It's going to be an exciting time. Pressure now is on to Suning, who are the ones with only 2 Dragon points. Still need Dragon Soul before they can still need 1 more Soul Point Dragon before they can begin threatening Dragon Soul. As Crying just trying to be as efficient as possible on his side of the map, clearing out whatever camps he can. Now, double stasis coming out now from Xiaohu with the stopwatch as well as the Zhonyas. As we see here, what went on. RNG emerging from the jungle, from the bushes, but really nothing much they can do. And Xiaohu tanking so much damage up. Honestly, doing an exceptional job, but SOFM did not have his ultimate after that very nice hook from Ming, preempting the fight. And it's kind of what RNG need to do to have a comfortable fight, is that they need to force out a lot of ultimates in a pre-fight before going into the actual fight. The key ultimates to force out, of course, being the Wild Growth, the Sinjao ultimate, as well as perhaps the Solar Flare, although that is really the icing on top of the cake. Meanwhile, on the side of Suning, what they need to do is just have a nice front to back, lay the damage out onto Xiaohu, who at this point in time is getting really tanky with the Demonic Embrace, with the Cosmic Drive, and of course with the Rift Maker. As now Wei has found himself in the top side of Suning's jungle, but of course full pressure is in the mid lane going to go in favor of Suning. As a result, they have eyes on RNG as teleport is coming down towards the bot side. That is Wei, not really a flank, I guess, because what can he really do? As SOFM lands the Wind Becomes Lightning right onto Ming, jumps in now onto him after prepping his 3,000 strike onto the ward. As the curtain call comes forth, Wei tanking out all the damage as the piercing arrow comes in, barely scratching SOFM. Now RNG are going to start tapering off soon, especially Gala. As, oh my goodness, Crying shooting himself right up into the air. Not really sure what led to that. Now, okay. Dragon is spawning in 20 seconds time. Xiaohu taking a shot to the back, not taking too much damage either. Like I said, RNG don't have many tanky members, but I guess Xiaohu wanting me to eat my words As SOFM and the rest of Suning find themselves in position, RNG are going to really work to dislodge them from this dragon. It looks like they will not be deterred, but mid-power will go in favor of RNG, who can rotate upwards towards Baron just as easily. Shock Blast coming through, tagging out onto Wave, but that again is the tanky member of the team. Does have the sustain of the God Drinker available, as RNG now have full control of the top side vision, but it was a necessity for Suning to take it away, take Dragon off of the board so they can focus on just one objective now, as RNG are just skulking around. Nice concave is set out, but Suning looks like they're just going to barrel down towards the mid lane. They see every member of RNG from those two perfectly placed wards. Only don't know where Wei is, but full vision control is definitely in their favor. That I guess is to be expected with the double support setup. Now Suning looks like they're just going to siege tier 1 towers now, as the rest of RNG are completely out of position. Gala is recalling, means he's going to be coming from a frontal assault. RNG do need to be careful as another shock blast rings through. The members of RNG are able to get into position in time to defend their base, and this is like some kind of what kind of game where there's a lot of posturing, a lot of pressuring, and only eventually some action does unfold. Side waves are pushing into both teams, with top side in favor of RNG while bot side in favor of Suning. But yet again, we will see both teams backing off. We're nearing the 40-minute mark as we've just entered, the 40-minute mark. Gold is yet again even, but RNG with a very cheeky attempt are trying to sneak away this Baron 2-person. Suning, a bit suspicious I suppose, as SOFM finds his way into the Baron buff. Who's like, why is this Baron healing? What the heck is going on here? As the rest of Suning do arrive. I'm not sure if they spotted the members of RNG out on a ward, but really Wei and Xiaohu were taking no damage and really slowly but very, very certainly chiseling away at that massive HP pool that Baron has. The remainder of Suning have arrived. They are now setting up their vision yet again with the amount of wards available to them. Look at that. Whoo! Now it's probably going to be an explosive team fight here, so I'm going to save a bit of my breath. Now, again, guys, the most important things to keep in mind here are what needs to be used by Suning for RNG to win. On the other hand, Suning have a lot of an easier win condition, as they don't need to really force out too many ultimates, the depth charge being the main one. Depth charge, Chains of Corruption, and of course the Shockwave. Now another Baron attempt is going to be done. This is again a 50-50. The Orianna, the Varus, the Piercing Arrow. Wei is in the area. Unfortunately, he's not there in time, as Bin actually rushing it down with the remainder of Suning. I suppose they spotted out the fact that Wei wasn't in the area, and the second he stepped out of position, they just melted down as another Shock Blast comes through. At 6 items, Bin is going to start tapering off in terms of damage, I suppose, but not that anyone's going to be building too particularly tanky, so he is still going to hurt for the most part. Now the poke is coming through from either team. Bin is missing his shockwaves a little bit now, but Gala is as well stepping forward aggressively. Will not be able to shoot it out. Does indeed hit SOFM, dealing negligible amounts of damage. Needs to get some stacks of blight onto him, as Ming playing the goalkeeper, tanking up whatever hits that are necessary for his team, as he gets shield upon shield, his own as well as Krang's. The members of RNG do have a concave, but Suning are a 5-man team. So strong. Gala jumped onto by SOFM with the audacious charge, forcing out a flash. That's one key summoner spell down. Suning yet again with inside track into the base, this time with Baron minions as well. Will definitely take down this tower. Wei looking for a flank. Xiaohu as well, as the inhibitor is being sieged down. Nothing RNG can do at this point of time, and it looks like Suning, with some nice map movements and good decision making, flipping it a little bit, Crying nearly annihilated by a shock blast, and it looks like with the little rotations that they have done right, finally broken open the base. Now, does this mean they've broken open the game? It's hard to say. Gold is pretty much even at this point, but with the carries mostly having full items, does it even matter? With Elder Drake not even on the map yet, does it really even matter? The inhibitor is down. RNG can definitely afford to give up this next dragon, no problem. It's the dragon after that counts, and more likely than not, ladies and gentlemen, as we approach a 45-minute game, Elder Drake will be the deciding point of this game. Of course, it's fully plausible that RNG finish out the game onto Suning with a fantastic fight around the Dragon Soul point, but that is going to be unlikely, and I'm going to have to quickly pause this a little bit. Just a second. Hello? No, Wong Hong Yu. Kenal. Dia, yeah, I know who he is. Why? And we are back. Sorry for the delay, ladies and gentlemen, as we return now to what feels like an exhausting game. Not for us so much as viewers, it is a little bit, honestly, especially if you have an emotional stake in the game. But right now, this is definitely an exhausting game for the players, as they've really had to sit through two relatively short games. I suppose you could say about less than 30 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it was 30-minute games, which is average length in the LPL. But now we're approaching the 45-minute mark with Dragon spawning. Right now, Crying is caught out of position. We'll need to flash this wall as he jumps away. Very nice vision, is absolutely in favor of Suning. Suning actually playing this game so phenomenally well, but RNG, to their credit, are holding on for dear lives exceptionally, as well as Bin is just playing absolute pressure points with his shock blast, sending squishy after squishy, scurrying back to the base. And with Crying now back to the base, does have the teleport available, but Ming and Wei need to be careful. If they're caught out of position, this could be the end of the fight. And Wei, fully aware of that, flashes away. SOFM jumping in onto Ming. Ming taking very little damage as well from the shields coming forward. Mid priority is going to be in favor of RNG. The ultimate goes down from SOFM. There's a key ultimate taken down as well as Xiaohu steps forward. In comes the curtain call. Xiaohu just putting down the W, not wanting to tank up any of that damage himself. Gala takes the 4th shot to the face. Looks like it doesn't matter, as Suning now are trying to burst down the dragon as best as possible. Xiaohu tagged up by yet another shock blast, as Crying is tagged up by the Crying was tagged up by the solar flare. And Suning, still with a lot of HP to spare, are just making their way down towards bot side, sieging down yet another lane of minions. And right now, Suning absolutely in control of the game, guys. I'm not gonna call it just yet, but Suning are definitely in the advantageous position right now as they push yet another wave of minions to the inhibitor. Xiaohu stepping forward a little bit too aggressively, forced to dash backwards as Wei is chased out of a flank by on. SOFM now is playing the side guard. Needs to be careful as he's slightly out of position. In fact, the two tanks and engaged tools of Suning were slightly out of position, forcing the rest of the team to come back and rescue them. And right now, even though I said he wasn't going to be exactly super tanky, he is plenty tanky right now, especially considering the fact that Gala is not able to find the damage he needs to, as yet another piercing arrow lands onto him. He's taking legitimately no damage. In fact, the mana bars of Suning are dropping a lot faster than their HP bars at this point in time, but they have gotten what they came here for and more. Dragon down, bot lane inhibitor down, Baron spawning in 1 minute and 40 seconds, mid lane inhibitor spawning in the next 2 minutes time, gives Suning 30 seconds to pressure Baron, maybe even try and force one out, as they're going to recall now and relocate all of their vision. They have, let us see, they have 3 control wards on their mid laner and 4 wards. Oh my goodness. They have 8 wards to play with between both their mid laner and support, or should I say between both of their support players. And right now, RNG not looking good. Things are looking very grim for them, as Suning just seems so much more in control of the game with just all the tools that I've previously mentioned. And honestly, while things are looking bleak for RNG, the game is not even close to over, and RNG's efforts at keeping themselves in the game can be reflected upon the gold, which of course at this point matters little, as both teams have players which have been sitting on 6 items now for a good amount of time. Those players being Xiaohu and Bin, of course, as well as the mid laners, almost at least, and the AD carries by far and beyond. Now let's see what happens here, as Suning sieging down the last tier 2 tower and looking to take out the last inhibited tower on the side of RNG. Will have Baron to turn to in 20 seconds time. Vision in the vision in the jungle is heavily in favor of Suning. Now Xiaohu needs to be careful, is going to be collapsed upon by the entire entourage of Suning. Engaged tools are abundant here with the Xin Zhao as well as the Leona. Not very certain engaged tools, but a lot more certain than a Lee Sin kick, I suppose, from a flank, especially given the way that Suning has been playing. Now Suning are recalling to try and fill up on wards yet again, and with 8 wards after having established vision already, you will most certainly have vision control assured to your team. Now mid lane inhibitor has respawned, but bot inhibitor will continue to push into RNG's base, which means Suning now, as we have seen previously, do have the damage with Bin and his Murumana, as well as the damage coming in from Huanfeng to absolutely burst down this Baron, as they started up now under the vision of RNG on playing goalkeeper, stepping up aggressively, not wanting to allow Gala and the rest of RNG to set up behind that wall, as the Sorellas is popped. Flash coming out now from Gala, Guardian Angel is available, teleport coming in now, there is Xiaohu, as the members of Suning now just back off, allow bot lane to push into RNG's base. Suning absolutely absolutely in a great position, although they are actually sitting on a ward, so RNG know that they are not on Bear and the pressure has yet to start. But Suning looks like they will start it up regardless, as Huanfeng getting a few shots off now onto the members of RNG, forcing members in on, hooked up by the dredge line, as Xiaohu stepping forward, actually shredding through on relatively easily, as the poke does come through from either team. This is like a medieval warship battle as both teams blow shot after shot into each other's face. SOFM looking for an audacious charge onto Gala. Remember, Gala did use his flash just now. The only thing he has available in terms of safety is the Guardian Angel and the cleanse, as Ming is tagged out by yet another shock blast, chunking him to low. Looks like mid lane inhibitor will go down. Huanfeng stepping out of another shock blast, which completely missed him, as SOFM is tanking up now. Does have the red smite to reduce the damage he takes from Xiaohu. And now Suning have carved themselves up an escape route throughout the bot side, as SOFM jumping in now onto Wei with the audacious charge. In comes the solar flare, forcing out yet another flash. Wei has yet to be able to use his flash aggressively, as Ming now needs to have his shots blocked by Wei. Guess does manage to get out of the cone of influence, as the last shot tags him out. Oh, was able to get out of the last shot is Ming. But now with Baron going in favor of Suning, unstoppable is this one. It looks to me that RNG's final hurrah will be at the steps of their fountain, will be under the shadow of their Nexus towers. As try as they may, they just can't seem to find an opening. It's just too hard. Suning is just too disciplined with their tools and with their movements together as a team. And honestly, I don't think Wei or Ming has been able to do very much farming whatsoever, but they have been able to keep up in terms of items purely off of the vision being littered across the entirety of the map by both Angel and, of course, On. Now, looks like RNG, not wanting to be stuck in their base, are looking to meet fate out in the open, in the confines of mid lane, as a bunch of things go down onto On. Wild Growth is used onto him, but Shockwave only tags out onto On the side. SOFM looking for an opening, as Xiaohu gets exploded by Huanfeng. SOFM tanking up the damage, disrupting the backlines as much as need be. In fact, he's done his job to a perfect extent, as Huanfeng. Very nice sidestep coming in from Ming, and now there's no one to tank up the Hicks. This could be a pentakill coming in now, as SOFM jumps in, knocks Gala up, trying to save the pentakill for his AD carry, but crying now, being flashed onto. Huanfeng stepping forward with the false shot, blows him to hell and back, as Bin steals away the last kill. It looks like the counters didn't even count at that point in time. And RNG, valiant effort, but Suning just playing so much better towards the end of that game. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for watching. I am out of breath. I am absolutely screaming at the top of my lungs. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next game. What an absolute banger of a game. Whoo, see ya!